Today we will learn about the thymus gland. It is located in the superior mediastinum and it weighs about 10 to 15 gram at birth and it increases to 30 to 40 grams at puberty. Subsequently, this organ is replaced by fat and it is atrophied in adults. If we see the structure, it's a bilobed organ. It has right and left lobes. These lobes are connected by fibrous tissue. Each lobe is surrounded by a connective tissue capsule. This capsule has a septa which pass inwards and divide each lobe into number of lobules. This lobule has outer cortex and inner medulla. Epithelial cells of the thymus. They are also called as epitheliocytes. There are 5 types. Type 1 epitheliocytes, they lie the inner aspect of capsule, septa and blood vessels. They form parietal layer of the blood thymic barrier. And type 2 and type 3 cells, they present in the outer and inner parts of the cortex respectively. Type 4 cells, they lie the deepest part of the cortex and as well as they are also present in medulla. They form a network which contains space. These space are filled by lymphocytes. And type 5 cells, they present around the Hazel's corpuscles. Next, lymphocytes of the thymus. Each lobule of the medulla has lymphocytes, but they are less densely packed compared to the cortex. These thymocytes divide and they pass deeper into the medulla. They leave the thymus by passing into blood vessels and lymphatics. Next, macrophages. They are the part of mononuclear phagocytic system, MPS. The subscapular macrophages are highly phagocytic. The macrophages which are present deeply, they are called dendritic cells. And the important function of the thymus is the epithelial cells of the thymus. They play an important role in the development of prethymic cells which are derived from the bone marrow to mature into T cells. Now let's see its role in lymphophoresis. Stem cells from the bone marrow, they reach the superficial part of cortex and they undergo repeated divisions to form small lymphocytes. During this repeated division or mitosis, its DNA also undergo random mutations. As a result of this, lymphocytes acquire the ability to recognize a very large number of different proteins and react to them. And it is also not desirable for these lymphocytes to react against their own body proteins. So all lymphocytes that would react against the body proteins are destroyed. This is the reason why 90% of lymphocytes formed in thymus are destroyed within 3 to 4 days. And the remaining lymphocytes which react only against the foreign proteins of the body, they transfer into circulation as circulating immunologically competent T lymphocytes. They lodge themselves in secondary lymph organs like lymph nodes, spleen, etc., where they multiply to form further T lymphocytes of their own type when they are exposed to the appropriate antigen. Thymus as a primary lymphoid organ. Now the question is, why thymocytes don't develop into large lymphocytes or plasma cells? And we know that they also do not form lymphatic nodules. And the answer is, there is presence of blood thymic barrier. This restricts the contact of lymphocytes with foreign antigen. This is the reason why thymocytes do not develop into large lymphocytes or plasma cells, and they also do not form lymphatic nodules. Medulla of the thymus, it forms a separate compartment. When thymocytes enter this compartment, they come in contact with antigen. This step is necessary in making T lymphocytes competent to distinguish between making foreign antigens and proteins of the body. And next, hormones produced by the epithelial cells of the thymus helps in the proliferation of T lymphocytes and their conversion into cells which are capable of reacting to antigens. T lymphocyte, they are also influenced by direct cell contact with epitheliocytes. Hormones produced by the thymus may also influence lymphopoiesis in peripheral lymphoid organs. And the last thing is thymectomy. It has much less influence after puberty as lymphoid tissues have fully developed by then. Thymectomy is actually a removal of thymus gland. Okay, now we'll study thymic hormones and their functions. Thymulin, it enhances the function of various types of T cells, especially that of suspensor cells. And next is thymopoietin. This stimulates the production of cytotoxic T cells. The combined action of thymulin and thymopoietin allows the precise balance of the activity of cytotoxic and suspensor cells. And next, thymosin. Thymosin alpha 1 stimulates lymphocyte production and also the production of antibodies. Thymosin beta 4 is produced by mononuclear phagocytes. Thymic humoral factor controls the multiplication of helper and suspensor T cells. Now let's see the clinical correlation. Enlargement of thymus is often associated with a disease called myasthenia gravis, which we all know. In this condition, there is a great weakness of skeletal muscles. In many cases, the thymus is enlarged and there may be tumorant. Removal of thymus may result in considerable improvement in some cases. So, myasthenia gravis is often considered as a disturbance to the immune system, in which antibodies are produced against the proteins, rendering them ineffective. It is an autoimmune disease. Okay, next is pineal gland. It is otherwise called as epiphysis. It is a small cone-shaped structure. In human, it is about 10 mm long. It is located in dicephalic area of brain above the hypothalamus. In human, pineal gland has two types of cells. One is parenchymal cells, which has large epithelial cells, and next is neuroglial cells. In adults, the pineal gland is calcified, but the epithelial cells exist and secrete some hormonal substance. And the functions, it has mainly two functions. It controls the sexual activities in animals by regulating the seasonal fertility. However, the pineal gland plays a very small role in regulating the sexual functions in human being. The parenchymal cells of pineal gland secrete a hormonal substance called melatonin. Melatonin is chemically N-acetyl 5-methoxytryptamine, an indole. If we see its action, it acts on gonads mostly. Its action differs from species to species. In some animal, it stimulates the gonads, and in some animal, it inhibits. In humans, it inhibits the onset of puberty by inhibiting the gonads. It is secreted more in darkness than in daylight. As you can see in the graph, the secretion is maximum in the night, especially between 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. So, it exhibits a remarkable diurnal variation. Hypothalamus is responsible for the circadian fluctuations of the melatonin secretion. Thank you.